It just keeps happening. You'd probably see these infographics floating around. I don't know what the actual number in a row this is, but you may have seen an incident at Joel Olsteen's gigantic megachurch. Now, I don't know how I feel about a preacher who owns a personal jet. The conversation around Joel Olsteen is probably a very deep, different one. I feel a lot about Joel Olsteen the same way I feel about whatever organization funded a $20 million Christian Super Bowl ad, allegedly. Wasn't really Christian. Sorry, we can't feed the hungry. We have to spend $20 million on a Super Bowl ad. I don't know about all that. But there was an incident at a Lakewood church this weekend. By the way, I want to first point out this was another incident of good guys who were armed protecting people from a bad guy who was armed. So leave a like on that video for these hero cops. There was 2 off-duty police officers that protected the congregation from a pro-Palestine woke trans individual armed with an AR who stormed the church. Now, because this individual is trans, I suspect you won't see many articles about this. Because this individual was a far leftist, you probably won't hear much about this. So make sure you leave a like on this video and you share it. There is an epidemic. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know what the exact number is, okay? And again, I've talked about this multiple times, which is sad. I believe, what is the actual number? 5 or 6 in a row now have been trans-identifying individuals who, carried out these events or wanted to carry them out and got arrested before they could. Why do you think that is? I believe it is a dangerous combination of clear mental health issues, okay? And by the way, the non-trans people that do this stuff are also mentally ill, right? Maybe the number is 9 in a row now. It's an enormous amount. I mean, if you are paying attention to how small a portion of the population the trans community is, it's microscopic. And there's like a half dozen in a row of them carrying out events like this, whether it was in Nashville, a non-binary person or whatever just got arrested in Colorado for planning to carry out an event. Oh, in Wisconsin last week, there was yet another person who called the Trevor Project, which is a trans therapy place, who planned to carry out an event. I believe it is 5 or 6 in a row. And when you look at the percentage of the population, it should shock you. Lakewood Church, pro-Palestine. They leave out the fact that they were trans conveniently, but they were, as I will show you, breaking Lakewood Church individual identified as trans, legal name Genesee Moreno, but went by Jeffrey. These people are getting radicalized by the mainstream media, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I can't prove that. I would need a lot of resources and data to do so. So I can only say in my opinion. But what I can say is when you look at a group of vulnerable community, like a vulnerable group, mentally fragile, right? Many of these individuals, and then you pump them full of rhetoric like CNN does, like MSNBC does, like these trans activists do online. They're coming for you. They're doing it, despite being 0.03% of the population, even by today's loose standards, allegedly. In the last year, they have committed 100% of the mass events, something like that. There's something going on here, right? Daily Mail did update the article. Let's do this. Oh, it says right here, trans pro-Palestine. Okay, there we go. Originally was not. So they updated it. So we can know that this, I mean, is anybody going to ask the question? Now, I believe that the number one mitigating factor, the number one deciding factor for these individuals is obviously mental health. There's some weirdness going on with them, some trauma. I mean, you look at the Colorado kid was living in like filth. I don't know what the situation was in Wisconsin, what their home life was, but I do know they called the Trevor Project. There's something going on here. And by the way, also entered the church with a 5-year-old boy who was also critically injured. I guess if we just affirm them, they wouldn't feel the need to scrawl Free Palestine on their AR and walk into a church. They've been identified as Genesee Yvonne Moreno, who previously used the name Jeffrey and has a lengthy criminal record, including assault, herb, and forgery. The footage captured by horrifying seconds after the woman in a trench coat went into the Houston megachurch before being offed by 2 heroic off-duty cops. Leave a like on the video for the heroic off-duty cops. Huge W. The suspect entered the building during a Spanish-language sermon with a 5-year-old shortly before 2 p.m. when they opened fire before 2 off-duty PD took care of business. You know what's funny? Well, what I'm going to say, it's not funny, but I think it's like, hey, good boy. Huck saying hi. All right. Ooh. Ooh. This person was significantly, how do I say, like, I'm sure the 2 off-duty people, the 2 off-duties probably just had, pistols, and this person was, heavily armed, essentially, and still got ventilated and took nobody with them, thankfully. Police Chief Tony Finner said it was not clear whether the young child was struck by the officers. Probably was, but at least he'll survive. Now, I don't know whose kid it was or what was going on. Chief Finner said the woman began the incident and both officers engaged her and took care of business. Praised the officers for quickly confronting the woman, adding she had a long pew and it could have been a lot worse. Oh yeah, it could have been. Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, the church has 45,000 people attend per week. And I don't think Joel Olsteen was even there. But again, this seems like a relatively new event too. You see a lot of comments, well, this story left the mainstream pretty quick. Wonder if all the mainstream media will report this accurately. The left is going crazy. They're becoming what they despise. Walking into a 16,000 person arena unnoticed. Where did she hide this thing? Well, she was wearing a trench coat. Why was there a little boy with her? I don't know. Whose kid was it? But what I do know is we have an epidemic. Evading arrest, theft, forgery. They attacked somebody, failure to stop. So they ran from cops. Anybody want to take a bet? Anyone want to take a bet No, this was a biological woman who was transitioning to a man, from what I can understand, who wrote Free Palestine on there and then went into a church. I'm not exactly sure how that frees Palestine. Why didn't they just go over there and fight for Palestine? I wonder where Palestine would put the trans individuals in their ranks. In their ranks. So we have you have a far leftist who went and got the dreaded fully semi-automatic, right? The fully semi-automatic. Yeah, we can talk about Joel Olstein's response to it, by the way, too, but it wasn't good. He seemed to just love getting the camera coverage. I think that's a different thing. I don't particularly think Joel Olsteen is a good person, but I don't really want to fight that fight right now. I think it's pretty interesting. We'll see. We'll see if the media covers this today, because that is basically 3 incidents. 2 of them stopped, thankfully, in rapid succession. And you just wonder, here's Joel Olsteen like smiling.
Amazing job, and it's just you said it, Chief. It could have been a lot worse. Of course, we're devastated. I mean, we've been here 65 years and have somebody shoot.
We're devastated. He's literally smiling while he's talking. Didn't he hide a bunch of money behind the bathroom wall or something too?
Of evil, but the forces that are for us, the forces of God, are stronger than that. So we're going to keep going strong and just doing what God's.
I don't know why he's smiling. That's a weird thing. Like, it's weird, but maybe he's just like got so much Botox in his face that he can't not smile. I don't really know. But, shout out to the off-duty PD that were working security there. They're the real heroes. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see exactly if anyone wants to actually talk about this. Like, I don't know if they can actually talk about what appears to be an epidemic. Like, I am again asking this community to stop doing this. That's just my opinion, though. We'll have to see if anybody actually covers this truthfully. If anybody wants to ask the question about why exactly are there so many of these recently. I've said this before. I think that if you go back to, a different time when these happened in the early 2000s, I bet you a lot of them would identify as this, that, or the other thing too. You go back to like the Colorado one. I bet you one of them would identify as something else. Yikes.